The miracle of Istanbul will always define Rafa Benitez, and fragments of the memory are still coming to mind even now, nearly 13 years on. There was one just the other week about how he was making notes for his half-time team talk. At the moment Liverpool went 3-0 down to Hernan Crespo's goal in the 2005 Champions League final. At a talk in Newcastle, Benitez admitted for the first time that he'd been briefly overwhelmed in that moment. What could I say in English? It's quite difficult. It has to be very clear in that short team talk, he said. It's hard to avoid the sense that for Benitez, everything in professional life will, deep down, be a pale imitation of those 6 years he spent at Anfield, where he returns on Saturday evening with his Newcastle United team. Long after leaving the club he would pack out the Liverpool empire with occasional talks. He brought the house down at the same theatre with a walk-on role in a performance of the hit play One Night in Istanbul. West Kirby, on the Wirral Peninsula, is still the Benitez family home, to which he generally repairs only fortnightly during the season. He's been back to Anfield twice in the 8 years since he left, 2-2 draws with Chelsea in April 2013 and with Newcastle United, during the 6-match unbeaten run which could not avoid relegation in 2016. But this time you sense he has finally relocated the sense of belonging he had back then. Newcastle resembles Liverpool in 2 ways, he told that recent Newcastle audience. I can hear my name in the street and my name is the only word I can understand in the street. The task on the Tyne dwarfs what he inherited on the Mersey in 2004. Liverpool's American owners, Tom Hicks and George Gillett, were cowboys, who sold Xabi Alonso to meet an interest payment demand. But at least when Dani Alves was denied to Benitez, the Americans agreed to buy Dirk Kuyt. At Newcastle, Daniel Sturridge, Tammy Abraham and Willie Caballero are just 3 of the signings Mike Ashley has refused to sanction. In many ways it's a championship team he's still equipped with. It's the most difficult job he's ever had, says someone who has worked closely with Benitez. At other clubs, the house was decorated and you put in the furniture. At Newcastle, you had to build the house. The overhaul of the Darsley Park training ground in North Tyneside was so substantial that skips outside the place were filled with old doors, desks and radiators. It did not even have a 4G training surface. For all the French signings Newcastle have made, there was no player liaison officer who spoke the language. That kind of inheritance is not supposed to happen to a Champions League winning manager, though the chaos somehow epitomized the crazy places Benitez has occupied in the 8 years since he left Liverpool. At Chelsea, where he arrived as interim manager after Roberto Di Matteo was sacked in 2012, the antipathy he faced produced the extraordinary spectacle, during an FA Cup quarter-final at Old Trafford, of Benitez being verbally abused by home and away fans at the same time. Chelsea's fans were silenced when his substitutions were key to them fighting back from 2-0 down to draw. Getting on with owner Roman Abramovich was the least of his problems. When the Russian invited him round to dinner after Chelsea's 2-1 win over Arsenal in January 2013, the Spaniard ended up playing indoor football with the Russians' children. In the last 2 months of that 2012-13 season, Benitez's Chelsea beat United twice, won the Europa League and took 26 points from 30 in the Premier League. Yet, he vanished without fanfare, unable to express a public desire to stay because it would have antagonized the fans. At Napoli he did find love, though there was also the presence of the Neapolitan Camorra Mafia to contend with, and the lousy mobile phone reception in parts of the golf complex opposite the Castelvolturno training ground, where he was housed. He found himself trekking back to his office in the evening, to use the landline. His current apartment, at Jesmond in Newcastle suburbs, just doesn't compare. He left for the Real Madrid opportunity that he could not refuse, though there was a look in his eyes at his unveiling as manager, in June 2015, that told you he knew he was taking political poison. He could not even answer English press conference questions in English at the Bernabeu that day. knowing that would upset the home contingent. He was gone inside 6 months. His accomplishments at Liverpool have looked increasingly impressive as barren years have rolled by for that club. Yet he has remained on the outside of the establishment, and only in the past year or so has the sneering by some of the commentariat finally receded. The negativity may have something to do with the way he does not conform. While Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp are busy expounding philosophies and being characterized as modernizers because of it, Benitez, with